Welcome to today's webinar, Effective User Adoption, the key to realising your strategy faster. This webinar is on the back of a related webinar run on the 3rd of November called Realising Strategy, Why Your Critical Systems Are Holding Your Users Back and How to Fix It. Both today's and the previous webinar are available for your convenience via Professional Advantage's YouTube channel. You will be sent a copy of this webinar and the link to the channel at the conclusion of today's webinar. I represent Professional Advantage and my name is Nick Fish. I am passionate in finding ways technology can be applied to vastly improve the way we connect, communicate, learn, work, and even compete with one another. And any technology that achieves effective user adoption of software applications is absolutely relevant to this passion. I also include the URL for where to find this and the previous webinar recordings in blue on the screen now. Once again, you'll be sent a copy of this recording, so no need to take that down at this stage. A brief word on our webinar sponsor, Professional Advantage. Professional Advantage is one of Australia's largest and oldest privately held technology professional services firms, operating 8 offices in 4 countries. It's focused on enabling high-performance workplaces, and having implemented hundreds of software applications over 25 plus years, today's discussion reflects a strategic decision to provide a solution-focused approach to help companies achieve their operational and business outcomes while using software applications. Just some information before we get started, the formal part of the webinar. The plan is to run the presentation element from 12:15 until 12:45, and then we've allowed a question and answer element for 15 minutes, concluding promptly at 1 p.m. For your convenience, all attendees will receive a link to the presentation. This session is being recorded and all attendees will be sent a link to Professional Advantage's YouTube channel. You will see the audience has an opportunity to register audience questions on the right-hand side of your screen, and I encourage you to do so. I will say, if we don't get around to answering all of the questions and answers within the time frame, I guarantee you we will get a personalised answer to your query. So please, anything that comes to mind, feel encouraged to ask. It really doesn't matter if the system being implemented in your organisation is large or small, or whether your organisation is large or small. The one thing in common, there is a need to customise those package-based systems to meet the needs of your business in order to pursue your operational goals. And in all those cases, as well, there is a need to make sure that the individuals that are using those systems are able to consistently and successfully engage with those different business applications to achieve their daily tasks, their daily jobs, as well as meet the overall goals of the organisation. A lot of you have already been down this journey of customising the applications adequate to meet the uniqueness around your business process to support people in doing their job. So this is not a new topic, but today you'll find that we cover off the importance of effective user adoption of those applications. I'll outline some components of what we mean at Professional Advantage around effective user adoption. And also we have a solution to announce with regards to achieving effective user adoption. And then the key benefits from, once you've achieved the necessary elements for effective user adoption, the benefits from achieving effective user adoption of your applications. And then I'll take you through what the next steps are to progress you down this journey of adopting the technologies that we're recommending, should you wish to do so. As mentioned to you, when you're starting the journey from strategy to outcome, what we're finding is every individual workplace takes the custom application, customises it in a way that best suits the organisation, and you will find what happens is a go live event becomes exactly that, an event. And post the go live, we're finding the challenge is how to continue to support users to make the most of the customised parts of that application. And that's really the target of what we've got today on that journey of we have a strategy, it's being funded by the CFO, implemented by the CIO, we're managing the budgets and the time pressures that are appropriate and come with any project. We're talking about how do you maintain those risks, manage those risks, but at the same time make sure that you achieve the return on investment from the applications that have been selected for your organisation. I'll just spend a moment on this slide because this today is probably this slide covers one of the most important observations that I wish to share today. It's from a study conducted of 2 subsequent years to see if there was commonality in results, and it was found that there was. It focuses on success of enterprise class software being deployed within a variety of organisations. And if you think of that, what are the key success criteria? You would think with enterprise software implementations such as whether it be Oracle, SAP, Infor, Microsoft, etc., you may think that software functionality is the most important thing in the effectiveness and overall success of an enterprise class piece of software to meet the needs of the organisation. But in fact, what this survey shows is this is not the case, and it's not even close. So hopefully that spikes the attention of those people on this webinar. So in making sure you are actually realising your return on investment on your IT spending in the application area, what this survey communicates, it's not just selecting the best software to meet the business requirements. It is not even making sure you align your business process correctly to the software and engage with the organisation. That is important, but it is not the most significant success factor, as you would see from the slide. Really, the key is to focus on effective user adoption. And that is making sure the user community knows what they are doing with the business process changes and are effectively engaged with those changes, as well as effectively engaged with the systems that now affect their life at work. So some core elements there that drive the success of the return on investment that may not be the success factors in the priority that you would have thought is the most important thing, is to focus on the return on investment from your technology spend. If that is your most important focus, then one of the key drivers of that is the effective adoption of that application, or those applications that affect a person's working life. And although that's an obvious statement, we're really going to dive into, given the significance of that observation, how do you achieve effective user adoption? What are the criteria for that? What's critical to achieve that? And then once you've achieved that, what's that likely to return to the organisation? You may not be familiar with Professional Advantage before today, but you are probably familiar with this group, the Gartner Group. And this is a quote I found very interesting from Daniel O'Connell, who is the Director of Research at Gartner. And he goes on to say, as you'll see on the slide, end-user adoption of new technology is frequently the key roadblock to an implementation's success. So most of you may agree with that. I was fine with that. But he does go on a little further with regards to end-user adoption. he says, is the most critical factor for generating return on investment. And our personal observations are consistent with Daniel's observations from Gartner's own research. So given the importance of this, we're going to have a look at the impact of not having a formalised approach to end-user adoption, which we see all too often, and in the past we have contributed to. So getting the application installed, delivered on time, on budget, managing those risks through to a go-live date is a popular success metric, because lots of people's individual success and indeed security at work depends on achieving an effective, a go-live date that manages those risks. And effective user adoption during that process beyond the go-live date is something that often either has no budget left for, or has that budget's been compressed as part of the go-live date. And that's really what we're talking about. So if we have a look at the measurable impact, it's captured in this slide of the measurable impact of not having a formalised approach, which I think is also a key takeaway from today's webinar, that regardless of the size of the project or the size of the organisation, as previously mentioned, that we've been involved in any case, there tends to be a myopic focus on the go-live date. And we know the good reasons, that some of them I've just mentioned, for this. They include that a lot of people are judged on the success or failure of hitting a go-live date and hitting a budget for that IT project at a certain point in time, from the CEO on the execution side or the CFO from a budget perspective. So I think nothing surprising there. We've all been involved in the enormous amount of work that we have all been involved with in achieving a effective go-live date. The problem with that focus, though, just on managing the risks of a project, budget and time, and then moving all of the attention around that go-live date, is that the go-live date tends to be an event in itself. You may have some training just before the go-live date to assist users appropriately. You may also have some hypercare provided by representatives from the key user community to the users that are going to be using the new system. And that usually lasts for a couple of weeks, right after you flick the switch to go live. So we see that a lot. Unfortunately, that focus degrades over time. And what you see is that the proficiency and increase in competency that you're expecting, and also which is fundamental to your ROI calculations, drops off rather quickly after that period of time that you were provided that hypercare. If any of us reflect back on any training that we've been involved in, even the best training experiences we've been involved in, the ability to have a comprehension within a week of that particular training over the system that you're using, or the new system that you're using, or the upgraded system that you're using as part of your job life, that comprehension just on personal reflection drops off significantly. And when we get stuck in an application, it's finding how to get help. And that's what we're talking about, the types of things that will help us when we're stuck post-go live. And training and hypercare definitely helps. However, unless you are purposeful about focusing on that effective user adoption, and there could be a lot of reasons for that. It could be that you're growing as a company and you're onboarding a lot of new people. It could be that you're growing through merger and acquisition. Perhaps people are changing job roles within the company, or that you're actually changing through change management, organisation change, strategy change, the definition of job roles, which change how people need to engage with the systems, etc. Regardless of the reason, and these reasons are all good reasons, you will see a drop-off in competency unless you focus on effective user adoption. So we see that red, that typical outcome on your screen right now, and we've experienced it post-go live, and this is really a key piece of what we're going to be focusing on as one of the core benefits to the organisation. So on the left side of that line, we'll be focusing on what are the critical elements to make sure that you can have an effective user adoption experience. And the last webinar we talked about embedded performance support, which is the key method that we use on the left-hand side of that Go Live, and embedded application support, so the tools that fit within that method. And then using those tools, then we can experience the benefits of effective user adoption post-Go Live. So you will see the symptoms. We've all identified with the symptoms of a degrading competency. You normally find that if you have a drain on the help desk post the Go Live event, when really people should be able to answer their own questions following the training on hypercare, that there's a spike in help desk events, which is a true indicator that the support that's been delivered is not effective. It's supportive but not effective. Or the time taken for the hypercare resources. So once someone understands that during the hypercare that they're a person that people go to, you'll find those very good resources get distracted by people getting in contact with them and ask them how do they get unstuck from where they're stuck in the new application. This usually, a symptom would be your very best people usually working extraordinarily long hours, doing their day job as well as helping other people do their job. But there's a lower return for the business because your highly effective people are getting caught up in that distraction. So all in all, it is not just the user degradation, but it is the impact on the organisation that is effectively a less efficient organisation, or a drop in the return on investment that you're getting from that application, which is the exact opposite result to what justified the investment in that application. So there's the logic. So what is the solution? I just wanted to touch base. The solution is effective user adoption, and I've just put a sum there with regards to achieving and sustaining user performance with a blend of learning and support elements. So the learning elements, the LMS system, etc., if you have those, if you have a trainer, this supports, not replaces, but it ensures that you get a consistent, sustained result with your employees going beyond that initial formal training, and we are advocating that you formalise what we're calling that effective user adoption process beyond Go Live, including those elements on the screen. Just to expand on this, what we normally find, and all of these areas here with regards from linking the mission and objectives of the organisation, stepping right back to the green box on the right-hand side, is identifying the measured performance outcomes that you observe from a new implementation. What we find is there is a large amount of focus on training. We also find that during heading towards that event, that Go Live event, training is one of the first things, or the training budget is one of the first things that can get compressed. In any case, if it's not compressed, just for the reasons mentioned a minute ago, you'll find that adoption starts to drop off beyond that that initial training and hypercare that typically follows or is around that Go Live date. We do see a lot of great work using technology as well as setting up organisational teams, etc., around collaboration and the design of the content, etc., that needs to be developed to support beyond the training. We do see a lot of that content end up in portals, but once again, we do see that if someone's stuck in a particular application, asking them to leave that application where they're stuck, to then go to a portal to find the particular content that will help them, and then find within that content the step that they're stuck in the application, is often too big an ask, and therefore the individuals are not motivated, no matter how good your videos or how good your content, to actually go and find that in a portal. So what we're really focusing on with effective user adoption is changing the focus to how do you create self-service support beyond that Go Live date. And a lot of it has to do with the approach leading into the go live date with regards to how you're creating that support material, and you'll see later in the next couple of slides, it is the critical element there is you need to have a very efficient way to create content in order post go live to achieve effective user adoption. But the ultimate aim will be, and we believe that this can be achieved through the approach that we're talking about and the tools that we'll introduce you to, you will achieve self-service, a large degree of self-service within the organisation well beyond the go live date. So some elements of how to achieve it. By providing information to the user at the point of need, it's critical, and we know that. It's like an on-demand availability. This is what we're talking about, and it needs to be. If you are focusing on providing embedded performance support as an approach, you need to make sure no matter what the solution you select, whatever the technologies, and there are a range out there of technologies, and we're happy to take you through where they fit and what we think the limitations are in a subsequent discussion. You need to make sure that obviously that the tool and the content is based on your actual system configuration, not generic packages, not the general even training material that would come with a generic training package. You can use obviously the content's valuable, but it really, from the way your software application has been configured to meet your business needs, that is what's going to be valuable to the user. And I know it's an obvious statement, but it's how do we achieve that? How do we capture those heavily customized solutions? Typically the IT folk on the call are not as motivated to go and write documentation around the systems being configured. We have a solution. This is a solution for that while they're playing the application. I'll show you how it captures that content that can be used for training and hypercare and for ongoing support at the point of need. But you need to have a technology that delivers that experience to the user. Also, selecting technologies that are flexible across applications and allow for both premise and off-premise environments. Also, effective user adoption can only be achieved, this is a really critical point, if you are able to easily and rapidly create the content that is unique to your environment. So they're the elements that we think any technology that you're looking at, they need to not achieve one or two of those elements, they need to achieve all of those elements, with the most critical one is how do you rapidly create the content that is unique to your environment. So I just thought I would spend a couple of minutes of your time. It's a very effective way to show you a technology that we've come across about a year ago. As I mentioned, Professional Advantage for the last quarter of a century has done hundreds of implementations of enterprise class software implementations. And what we've found is after that go live, there is a large amount of work that goes on in a learning environment to support the implementation, but the effectiveness of that is limited by a couple of key variables, whether that be the quality of the trainer, the availability of the trainer, availability of subject matter experts, and we need to have, in order to have a self-service at the point of need, we need to start to decouple some of those single points blockages that are in the environment. So we've discovered the technology. We think it's very, very exciting. We're using it on all of our projects now as an approach on, if you remember the go live, on the left-hand side of that go live, it's part of our method on how we deliver projects. And on the right-hand side, we are absolutely excited by the potential that it offers the users post that go live to genuinely achieve self-service support without the reliance on those elements around training, hypercare, help desk, side discussions with peers, etc. So I'll kick over to the demonstration now, and then we'll come back after the demonstration and reflect on the key points that came out of that. It runs for 4 minutes and 58. The speaker is the CEO of a company called Epilogue in the US, and we at PA the agents for Epilog in Australia, or their product in Australia, and we've branded the technology Performance Plus to more closely reflect where we think you're going to get the greatest amount of benefit from this technology.
Welcome to this brief product demo of the Epilog Electronic Performance Support Solution. Enabling sustainable end-user performance in the use of your critical applications is difficult and rarely achieved. This demo will show Epilog's power for creating performance support content, managing that content, and delivering that content. We'll start with a brief glimpse of content creation. The authoring tool is an add-on to Microsoft Word, providing Word the incremental functionality needed to capture and document how applications work. Here's how. Start with a new project and a template loads that will act as a canvas for the project. To capture a system-based workflow, process, or transaction, click on Start Recording. Word disappears into the background. The application we're capturing is a web-based CRM application, and we're going to document the new account setup process. For the sake of time, we're not going to do the whole process. Okay, that's good. Now let's stop recording. The recording icon is in the system tray on the lower right. The capture is built out in the Word template, providing necessary screenshots and instructions. Now you're ready to review, edit, and enhance for richer performance support content. You can preview your simulation at any time, in this case, before any edits or enhancements. As you can see, the simulation is fairly complete even at this stage. You can control the simulation with these controls. Now, let's take a look at a finished product. Here's the same content, but after 30 minutes of review, editing, and enhancement. This was accomplished using the tool's features for adding deeper context and knowledge transfer, such as you see here. When done, the project is published, generating a wide variety of performance support output. Managing performance support content, particularly if there is any scale, is important to success. After publishing the content, it is managed in a web-based component that drives a number of workflows, such as a review and approval process, and to stay on top of it all, a variety of dashboards and reports that can be filtered based on metadata. Last but not least is the delivery of performance support to the end user. The tool knows what application the end user is in and where in that application, be it an ERP system, an EMR, or a CRM. The tool provides performance support content context sensitively. This can also include content not created with the tool. Clicking on a selection launches an HTML job aid, bringing the user to the step nearest to where he's working. Many users prefer something other than a job aid, either more detail or less detail, or a simulation. These can be selected and launched from this drop-down, in this case, a simulation. There are 3 simulation modes: watch and listen, try it, and test mode. Lastly, the end user is not restricted to the performance support suggested by the tool. End users can tag content as a favorite, They can scan their own personal history of use, or they can search. I hope you found this demo helpful. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed the video. There are a number of key messages there, and as you can see, the three elements that come within this particular software application. One creates the application content, and it is customized. Effectively, as mentioned in the video, it turns the Microsoft Word canvas into what the vendor calls a high-velocity software documentation engine. And as you saw, it really is as easy as was shown in that demonstration of the software. Once the business process procedure has been videoed and you stop the recording, when you go to see the outputs from that recording, you find very, very quickly you've ended up pre-edit with 70 to 80% of that content created in a format that can be used by the users. And yes, there's still work to be done by the editors, but I've found in our own personal experience, just setting up the template on how you're going to capture the content for that support material can take up to 2 weeks. Well, one experience that I've had on an enterprise system, it took up to 2 weeks just to create the template. So to be able to do that literally within minutes, and that's what we're talking about, in front of your eyes is an unbelievable progress forward on the way and the speed that you can create content, which we think is a critical element. Also, the outputs that you recall you may have seen through this publisher, the simulations are incredibly powerful, providing you those 3 types of simulations. And it's all delivered through a unique experience, through a job aid that pops up at the client, at the user's desktop, no matter what application they're in. So it picks up the application they're in, it picks up the page of the application they're in, it picks up the step of the application they're in, and if you like, pushes help to them. So I find that delivery piece, or the advisor element, is analogous to having the instructor sitting on your shoulder, overseeing how you're using the application in your day-to-day work, but when you're stuck, knows where you're stuck, and within one click can take you through to the exact instruction, whether that be in the format of a business process procedure template document, whether it be computer-based training document or content, whether that be a simulated video, whether that be a job aid with a step procedure on how to resolve where you've been stuck. So it's very, very powerful. We're very excited by this for that reason. So just as a bit of a recap, if you use this tool to create the content for the applications you're implementing, you can automate a lot of the manual tasks that you'll be familiar with. I'll just, to really press home the point here, I really wanted to show you this next slide, which effectively highlights the benefits that you're going to get from automating and quickly creating that content. So looking at this table here, you'll see a number of the standard project assets for a typical transaction process involved in a implementation of a customized enterprise system. And if you look through those, they'll mean, depending on your background, they'll mean different things, different people. But we've also included some typical tools you may be aware of, or you may be in fact using today. And what we've compared is using those tools today without the Performance Plus technology that you just saw on the video. The hours involved should resonate with everybody. When we use the Performance Plus, just the ability for the tool to create that content in a very rapid way, you should expect to make these time savings. And the amount of time you should expect to save using this tool to create the content you need for effective user adoption. And this box down here is unbelievable, but it is to be believed. It's 80 to 90% less effort performing these typically highly manual tasks because of the way the technology works. So terrific breakthrough on the left-hand side, building that content in a way that can be delivered to the users. That is a critical element hopefully you're taking away. And there is a solution out there right now that achieve that across all application platforms. You saw 3 in the demonstration, but all of your application platforms. So if you create the content for effective user adoption, as we've just shown you how you can do it, knowing how important effective user adoption is, and provide this in a self-service approach, you can expect to see these adoption benefits for the users and the business. And they are equally as impressive. And if you reflect on your own environment, you will see how much time is spent on these tasks, typically an environment around a project where the time and budget are getting compressed. So at a time when compression's happening on a critical element of creating the content you need to get user adoption, you actually have got a tool here that dramatically shortens the amount of effort and time required, so you're actually still able to achieve what you need, even though in a typical project we get compression around the time of the go live event. It's a significant breakthrough in order to support the users post go live, following that training or the hypercare, but in addition to that and well beyond that, you'll find that users will become self-reliant for their own support. So I think we know why user adoption is important, and hopefully you've picked up that it is one of the most significant success factors for your ROI. I would have put it in my top 4, but I don't think I would have put it as my number 1 before I started seeing more research coming out of Gartner, coming out of the Sandhill group that I showed you the research earlier, or even from now we're using the technology from our own projects. Performance support can be standard for your system adoption. You can implement it within, include it within your standard project implementation methodology. We'll be using it on projects where we're implementing our enterprise software, because with Professional Advantage is the agent for this technology in Australia. We'll also be more than happy to work with your systems integrators to actually implement it. The implementation from our end is not, it's a number of days, it's not weeks, months. And once we've set you up, it's a tool that is self-sufficient for those people that are currently doing those tasks today, or alternatively Professional Advantage you can outsource to our experts as well. So any project that you have coming up in your roadmap or project that you have on now, application project, please feel free to give us a call so we can come and have a chat to you about how this tool will be implemented and what the costs are, etc. So I really do implore you to do that. It will make your life so much easier, and the users and the ROI in that first period beyond go live and beyond that first period will be far more effective in the way that they're using the applications. We are offering today, because it is easy to just open up the discussion, but we are offering, if you were prepared to sit down, or we sit down with you, typically your CIO, and if you're one of those on this call, we'd love to see your IT roadmap. And then from that, we could have a discussion with you about how to identify opportunities for effective user adoption. Bearing in mind we're a systems integrator ourselves, so we do have a very good proven project implementation methodology, so we can talk at that level with the people in your organisation about how you'd incorporate this as part of that method as well. So I do offer that to you, and we're more than happy to come in and have those conversations. We're very, very keen to understand your environments, whether you're a Professional Advantage client or not. If you've got any projects planned or currently undergoing projects, we'd love to come and have a chat with you, and I implore you to do so. We're going into an opportunity to have some questions and answers, and I'm happy to say I can see a couple of questions now. Now's the time to ask them. We do have the time, we are running to time. And in the video session, looking at a couple of questions, I've gone and plucked out some videos, some slides that I think would help answer some of the questions. One of the questions that we've had is, what are the enterprise applications that this is good for? I did mention within the webinar presentation piece that this is across applications, application agnostic. There are a few performance support tools out there provided by particular vendors, but it's limited purely to their ERP or CRM application. What we're seeing here with progress in technology and using Word in the way that Performance Plus uses Word through this technology, we're able to be agnostic to the application. And typically, where it's a really good point, whoever asked this question, typically we're finding it's not unusual for a job task to cut across, or a process to cut across a number of applications required to do that role. So it's a very big requirement for us just to have one tool that sits across the applications. I did, as mentioned, I'll just flick forward. So effectively it cuts across applications, and this is effectively how we would pick an initial project with yourselves, maybe a project you've got an upgrade or a new application that you're planning. You would implement the technology for that project, but an important point here is we get an understanding of your roadmap for your future applications, and then this is a user-based pricing model, not an application-based pricing model. So not only does it cover all of your future applications in terms of getting a consistent support experience to all your users across all your applications, but it's normally funded by installing it in the first project that you've got going, and if you like, all other projects that come subsequent to that, effectively at a marginal cost or free, because they're paid for in that first project. So that's how it cuts across a number of applications. This is a typical scenario that we experience here at Professional Advantage, but you could easily have your SAP or your Oracle projects going on there as well. You could have your Google type project, upgrades to Microsoft Office 365, etc. We're finding that the one approach from this technology fits across all of those applications. I hope that answers that question. Another question that I've got is with regards to the project compression points that I made. How does it help with project compression? So this would be familiar in terms of project implementation methodology in particular. What we find is in this section here, this realization, which is really realization and mapping of the business requirements. What we're able to do is in the application itself have the individuals that are configuring that application for the user requirements in an iterative way. As they are doing those configurations, they effectively are recording, simply playing in the application. So creating, with a CRM, for example, creating a new account. So they go in and they show how they're able to do that, and then they stop recording, and all of the steps, whether that be 10, 15 steps to actually go ahead and do what they were doing in the CRM, have been captured into the content that you saw in the demonstration, content output, and that allows this process here, the timelines around collecting that content and mapping that against the process and getting that approved. This timeline, the time spent here is dramatically reduced, which similarly with deployment and testing within even within the UAT, you would have seen that previous table, the amount of the adoption benefits table, you will see the amount of time that was saved with regards to the approval in the UAT phase from using the technology as well. The thing that we do find is that go live support event does start to compress the purple and the yellow boxes. We're all aware of that because of just the speed and the automation of manual tasks involved in the realization and mapping of business requirements and the deployment and testing against those and the customization that happens here. Just the speed with which we can create the content and the dramatic reduction in effort that's required to do so allows that compression that normally happens within a project to actually be born without jeopardizing time and budget, which is causing the compression, but being able to be born without diluting the value of creating that content that's required post-live to support that user adoption environment. So I think that's a dramatic difference that we're finding with the technology. There are a couple more questions. I've got time approached, so I just wanted to thank you all very, very much for attending. Thank you, and that brings us to the end of our broadcast. I do remind everybody that they will be getting a copy of the webinar today and a copy of the previous webinar. And should you have any questions at all, have any projects that are coming up, we would really enjoy having a conversation with you about how we would help you achieve a method around embedded application support using the tool that we've mentioned here today to achieve effective user adoption in a self-service way, a formalised way beyond the go-live date. Thank you very much for your attendance.